Alrighty, here we are on the Gateway Pundit. Canadian Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre loses national election and his seat in Parliament after he started trashing Trump on a regular basis. Well, there's a little video I found with this, so I'll put that in there and take it from there.
So I would like to congratulate Prime Minister Carney on leading this minority government. We'll have plenty of opportunity to debate and disagree, but tonight we come together as Canadians. We will do our job. Yes, we will do our job to hold the government to account. But first, we congratulate people from all political backgrounds on participating in the democratic process. And as I said, while we will do our constitutional duty of holding government to account and proposing better alternatives, we will always put Canada first as we stare down tariffs and other irresponsible threats from President Trump. Conservatives will work with the Prime Minister and all parties with the common goal of defending Canada's interests and getting a new trade deal that puts these tariffs behind us while protecting our sovereignty.
So where to start? I guess we'll start at the Trump bashing. In my opinion, this Pierre Poilievre guy, he shouldn't have bashed Trump. And why? You risk alienating conservatives who like Trump. And second, it makes you sound like a liberal, which is not a good idea. If this guy had gone full-blown conservative, he would have done a lot better. He probably wouldn't have won, but he wouldn't have lost as much as he did. Because you're not going to win over liberals, or Greens, or the NDP, or the Bloc Québécois. The only thing you can do is try to maintain your conservative base. If you bash Trump, you'll lose some. If you're pro-Trump, you'll lose some. So the only in-between is not even mention Trump. Just talk about illegal immigration and illicit drugs and what you're going to do to minimize those things. And another reason for all the Trump bashing, it has to do with the tariffs. Now, Trump says reciprocal tariffs. I remember in 2016 or 2018 he was talking about tariffs that Canada had on U.S. dairy. That's probably why I never see any U.S. dairy in the grocery store. That's also why Trump is calling them reciprocal tariffs. Most people, they don't know about these tariffs, so they just think Orange Man bad. Another reason why the Conservative Party lost? In March 14th, 2025, Prime Minister Mark Carney signed a directive to remove the federal consumer carbon tax effective April 1st as part of his broader policy to address climate change and economic competitiveness. So you have a liberal, right? He removes the federal consumer carbon tax. But in Canada, a federal carbon pricing scheme was introduced in 2019 by former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So, how scummy is that? Trudeau puts in a carbon tax, it's widely unpopular, and then a liberal comes in, gets rid of it, and gains a whole whack of popularity. Talk about fixing a problem that they created. Let's take a peek at some of the tweets. Losing to Carney was bad. Re-electing Freeland was insane. Levels of stupidity. Yeah, Carney's probably going to be just as bad as Justin Trudeau, because wasn't he Justin Trudeau's finance minister or something? Such an articulate guy. I never imagined he would implode like this. Orange boob should have stayed out of Canadian politics. I guess orange boob is Trump. Yeah, of course it is. Did Trump get involved? No, he just said Canada should pay tariffs because Canada's tariffing the US. And if this person's talking about the whole 51st state thing, that's just Trump being Trump. If you get upset by a tweet, you probably shouldn't be on the internet. That's the exact rhetoric that lost him the election. What a clown. He hates Trump more than he loves Canada. He's a politician. In my experience of politicians, they only love themselves and their families and then their pocketbooks. A nation, they just see that as a way to get power, i.e., money. Not a word about Canada's outrageous tariffs on the US. Well, of course, he doesn't want people to know about those tariffs. He just delivered Canada over to the net zero WEF crowd once again. Delivered? No, Canada's been in their hands for a long time. I don't even think electing Pierre Poilievre would change that, in my opinion anyway. That's why I didn't bother voting. As far as I'm concerned, the Conservative Party, they're not conservatives. Here's an example. Why did Pierre Poilievre bash Trump? Because he saw that the liberals were gaining a lot of traction by doing what? Bashing Trump. So they just copied the liberals. And as far as I'm concerned, copying the liberals doesn't make you a conservative. It makes you a liberal in conservative clothing. Well, that's about it for my thoughts on this election. Take care out there in clown world.